Greetings, fellow scribes! Welcome back to the Archive! It's time once again for my monthly installment of Archival GMing. These are videos where I take a look at either a system I've discussed in the past, or something tangentially related to a system I've discussed in the past, and talk about it in a way to help GMs incorporate this information into their own toolbox. This month, I'm talking about the Monomyth, more commonly known as the hero's journey. This is the idea put out by Joseph Campbell that there are certain storylines, certain, tropes that go through all the great heroic tales. And while there's a lot to it, I'm going to go over what I've always found to be the main points of it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as we talk about the hero's journey. The hero's journey starts simple. You are a normal person. Your life is remarkably unremarkable. And then something happens. This is some event that just sparks something. Maybe it's you suddenly are able to read Greek, but you've never studied Greek. Maybe it's your brother breaks his sword. You go rushing off to find one, and you just happen to find a sword in a stone and anvil, and you just pull that sword out and run to get your brother. Maybe it's just you find out you're really, really strong by accident. And these things, these are the sort of inciting moment, though it's not really considered part of Campbell's version of the hero's journey, because these come before the call to adventure. And the call to adventure is sort of the important part of the hero's journey. You know, it's the finding out that if you don't want to die, you've got to go out and slay the Medusa, come back, and prove that you killed her. And then the king won't kill you because you've proven that you're not going to usurp his throne. Not really, but we'll get to that. Maybe it's, shortly after you started reading languages you can't know, someone takes you to a place where there's other people who speak those same languages, but didn't know them before. Or maybe a old wizard comes up to you and goes, "Hey, you know what you did by pulling that sword out? You're the King of England!" Those things. Those are the things that create that call to adventure. Before that incident, you were just a normal person. The stuff that follows from that incident is at the point where you can no longer turn back. You're pulled towards greatness. Now, the hero's journey operates on the assumption that at some point you're going to have a mentor. And, of course, that mentor will die. One of the great examples of this is actually Star Wars. While Lucas has generally said the reason why he killed Obi-Wan was because there was nothing for Obi-Wan to do in the second half of the film, it neatly dovetails into the hero's journey. Because until that moment, Luke, having left Tatooine on his call to adventure with the death of his parents, he's been learning from Obi-Wan. And Obi-Wan's death puts him out there, puts him having to live on his own, stand on his own feet, be his own person. Because until the mentor's death, the mentor is kind of there as a also protector of the future hero. From that point, the hero's journey is on his own terms. And that's what's going on there. He started off as no one special. He's been called out, put on a road to adventure. A wise mentor is training him, teaching him how to be what he can be. And then the hero gets the training wheels taken off. And the world gets to see what he can be. Now, the hero's journey will, of course, continue onwards. And one thing that's a real commonality in the hero's journey is at some point, he's going to go into the underworld. Now, the underworld could be the literal underworld. It can be a metaphorical place. It's representing the hero's own inner darkness, his own inner demons, and the hero has to confront these, conquer them, and he moves on past there. Then, some point after that is the confrontation with Goddess. The idea of this is that it is a moment where that hero is embracing the power of divinity, or the power of themselves, because the entity that they're dealing with is a life-giving force. You see this in The Lord of the Rings in Lothlorien, where Galadriel is taking the place of the goddess in there. The underworld, of course, was Moria. At the same time, you see it with Merlin and his confrontations with Morgan Le Fay. You see it in the moment on Endor in Star Wars Return of the Jedi, when Leia comes out from among the Ewoks right after Luke and the others have been captured and arrive. And it's those events that's the sort of commonality there. It's a moment that refreshes the heroes, but it also empowers them. And from that point onwards, again, things have changed. That's the thing. Throughout the hero's journey, there is change. You're never able to really go back to what you were before. Finally, the hero's journey ends with the hero defeating whatever it was. But not really. See, the victory is not the point. The victory is a sort of apotheosis, where the hero goes from what they were before to something greater. And when they return back home at the end of the journey, they are transformed. Think of in the books of Lord of the Rings, how when you get to the Scouring of the Shire, and Merry, Pippin, and Samwise, Frodo, they come in, and these four hobbits take on the forces of Saruman that had gotten into the Shire and were enslaving the people there. That's sort of a transformation. Because if you compare them to where they were when they left, to what they were when they returned, they're not the same. No one there would ever think that they were the same people, even though they are. They have become something greater, something more than what they were. And that is the culmination of the hero's journey. That returning home transformed. Now, yes, there are a lot of great videos talking about the hero's journey. Mine's just one of many. But what I want you to think about when you run a D&D game, when you run a Scion game, when you run whatever game you want to run, is how are the heroes transforming? How are they changing? How can you use the tropes of the hero's journey to nudge them forward? This is the big thing. Because ultimately, the hero's journey is about change. And as a GM, we tell stories. We can use this framework, even if we're mostly improvisational GMs, to help guide the story for our players. Present them the challenges. Let them build. Let them change. Not let them build. Let them change. Encourage. Make them change. Because no adventurer is the same at level 10 as they were at level 1. And at level 20, they're gods. Or, a Jedi Knight is not the same as they were as the Padawan. Or the youngling. King Arthur was very different by the end of the Arthurian cycle than he was at the beginning. Every story, the character changes. The character grows. And ultimately, the hero's journey is a guideway, a sort of sketched out roadmap. So, that is it for this month's Archival GMing. Next month, I haven't figured out what I'm going to do yet. But I look forward to talking about different GM tips for the next time. So until then, I'd like you all to remember to have fun and keep gaming.